Welcome to the Seat 14 podcast, a different perspective on college basketball told by those who lived it. Join us as we bring you insider views, analysis, breakdowns, and predictions from one of the most storied programs in the country, from someone who saw it all from the end of the bench, the 14th seat. In association with the Field of 68 and alongside producer Jordan Barber, I'm your host, Todd Lanter, and this is Seat 14. Welcome into episode 13 of the Seat 14 podcast. Today is Thursday, February 10th, 2022. We are coming off of
a very long recording session with Cameron Mills.
Very long. So that will follow this this little intro segment here. We pre-recorded with Cam just before this, and boy,
what an enigma.
That was fantastic. We've saved Cameron. Cameron's a good friend of mine. He's had me on his radio show several times. We've done several different events together. I'm actually doing a bracketology event, which I'll make sure you attend for Selection Sunday, or I guess it's the Monday after Selection Sunday. We're doing a charitable bracketology event with a panel. It'll be Jeff Shepard, him, Goose Givens, a couple other guys.
And our boy.
And me, a couple other guys too. And Maria actually is going to be part of it.
The real expert out of all of us.
So we're going to do our bracket breakdowns and predictions and whatnot. So we do a lot of stuff like that together. But he's always been fantastic, a great mentor to me, having been, through this as a Kentucky kid and how to handle yourself, build a business. He's been somebody I've been able to lean on.
Yeah.
So
I think because he went so long and there's just so much good content there that I think we're going to structure this episode differently.
Yeah.
So you and I are just going to get everything we got to say out the way.
Yep.
We're not going to have the movie quote, unfortunately. I know all of our fans are so upset about that.
I just wanted to have some cool sign-off thing, but if we're going to do that, we need to prioritize it better. I need to do a better job with that. But we're learning. This is something I was telling you before we started recording today, that I'm used to the radio. I'm used to everything having to be perfect. Like, you don't want somebody coughing into your radio when you're talking. So we mute ourselves if we're doing that. But we've said from the beginning, we want this to be a different vibe. Everybody's kicked back. Like we're having a conversation with the boys on the couch. And
that was always the mission. But now I think we're actually curating.
Yeah. Now we see it better. And we're going to, like we said, we've been building out a home studio to do our segments.
I'm like the John Calipari of vibe curation.
Sheesh. More on that later. But the whole we're putting together a pretty cool arrangement for studio and content. The YouTube channel is gonna finally take off. We'll have all the set structured the way we want, and it'll be a lot of fun. But being able to bring in a guy like Cameron, and you'll hear in just a minute, where we can just kind of riff. Like there was no structure to the show. We just decided we're going to talk about the team now, obviously, and we're going to talk a little bit about how the dynamic of not only the game, but everything involved with it and circle and around it has changed since his time.
And then it became about how you guys would beat up on KBA leagues and church leagues, and it's just, so I did have to step in.
Everybody wants to come for your neck when they looked at me like I was like they're I don't know, like
a bum.
Yeah, but they could have done what I did, and in a lot of cases, many people could have. But
a few people could have.
Okay, a few people could have. But my point is they, I wasn't accomplished on the court at Kentucky, but it took a lot of time and effort and work and
you were their Super Bowl in the same way that Kentucky is Arkansas's Super Bowl, for example.
Sure. Everybody looked at me like I could beat him and I'm going to, and you like the competition, but like some people are it's like, come on, it's a pickup game,
Just get over it.
Yeah, but whatever. It was, I wouldn't have it any other way. I was very blessed, very lucky. Got to a place I probably didn't deserve to be at. Cameron feels that way a lot as well. He had a much more successful, Kentucky career and had a lot more opportunity, but he kind of came from a similar situation. He had to earn everything he got, and I have the utmost respect for him and the way he's handled things and what he's doing now. I mean, he does so much for the community and
one of the most genuine guys I've
his
ever
faith
met.
And everything else. He's very, very cool. Is that the first time you met him?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's great. He'll be a reoccurring guest.
It was like I had known him for 15 years.
I want to bring him back once we get the studio stuff worked out. I want to bring him back and have him kind of like we're figuring out how to structure this, but for the first couple episodes it was very interview-esque, and we're asking certain questions, and we still want to do that. I mean, we got to cover analytics and all that stuff as well, but I would love to have a situation where we just have a couch, and everybody's got their coffee or drink of choice or whatever, and we'll have 2 more boom arms and 2 more mics, and everybody, we can have me, you, him, and another guest on, and we just riff. And that's the whole concept of the Seat 14, like different perspective at the end of the bench, having been a fan, having been in the locker room, having played. That dynamic is real, and that's what we want to portray. We want to be able to, show that inside track and kind of be unfiltered. And that's what makes this fun, is to be able to tell that story in that way. So, he's a absolute blast. So stick around to listen to that. But first
you got to listen to these two.
Yeah, first you got to listen to us. So, he's an incredible interview. It's a lengthy one. This episode will be like an hour, 15 hour, 20 minutes, but worth every minute with him, and we'll let him sign us off. So we're going to circle back now, do this first segment, and cover the Alabama and South Carolina games. What's your take on this last week?
Good week. But
we had 2 wins.
Yes, good week, but a weird week.
Yeah.
Because you and I spoke before. I think everybody expected the Alabama game to be much more of a shootout, much more of an offensive game. It ended up being the exact opposite. Of course, Alabama just had to I don't know. I don't know really what to say for it, but that I'm like an analytical guy, and I love teams that are unafraid to live and die by the numbers, and they certainly died by the numbers. What were they, like 3 of 30?
It wasn't good. I'm pulling it up right now.
It was really, really bad, and that's definitely not what I expected, but it's important for this team, as far as we're concerned, to prove that they can win in a multitude of different ways, and I think there's no way to leave this week and those 2 wins without thinking that they certainly did that.
You're referring to the South Carolina game, right?
Both of them, because South Carolina, we gave up way too many offensive rebounds.
Yeah, South Carolina, they had a total of 41 rebounds to our 40. We were out-rebounded. I think that's the second game in a row.
You think we got out-rebounded against Alabama too?
I think.
I would assume that those are probably the only 2 games, besides maybe Notre Dame, that we got out-rebounded. That may have happened against Notre Dame
let's see.
as well.
It was 44-47. Yeah, we got out-rebounded by both teams. On the offensive glass, let's see, 10 and 16, they out-rebounded us on the offensive glass.
Is it South Carolina or Alabama?
That was Alabama.
Wow.
22-32. We out-rebounded. No, I'm sorry. The big game was South Carolina. The Alabama out-rebounded us on the offensive and overall, but South Carolina out-rebounded us 22-8 on the offensive boards, which is
that's bad.
Unheard of against this team. Yeah. And we still had a 10-point win on the road.
Yeah.
Oscar with 3 offensive rebounds, total of 14. So literally 1 under his average for the night, 14 rebounds. Unbelievable. But
it's crazy, the standard that we have become to expect from him, and how he continues to deliver, even on a night where we're like, dang, Oscar, you should be playing better. And then you look up and he's at his season average, which saying it out loud, this dude's averaging 15 and 15, just sounds weird. It doesn't sound like anything that you would expect in a college game, and yet it's happening. And he's the clear player of the year. I don't want to hear anything else.
After, he is. I mean, it's not even close. But after the Davion's performance at Kansas, where he had him and Ty come out for 2 points, he's had 17 total over the last 2 games, 10 and 7, and bounced back to make up for. I mean, I'm not saying make up for his performance at Kansas, but make up for some of the slack that we've struggled with the rest of the way. Severe hasn't had a field goal in 3 games. He's due for a big one, which
is tough, but also I don't hate it.
I'm not mad at it. I want them to struggle in certain categories so we can see how their teammates step up. And Severe's been unfazed in every other aspect of his game. He's still played well.
Yeah. And I think he's unquestionably best as a game manager, not as your primary or secondary offensive threat.
Yeah.
He's a game manager.
Yeah.
And
I mean, he had 4 turnovers, which is unacceptable, but he had 7 assists. Not that they counter each other. I don't believe in that.
He had like 11 against South Carolina.
Yeah. And the Alabama had 7, but 4 turnovers.
Yeah. He has been very turnover prone this year.
But he hasn't struggled. I mean, outside of the stat sheet, as far as his composure in the game, he hasn't struggled with missing these shots. He's due. You can't go 3 games without scoring the basketball, but he'll be fine. Point is that everybody else, I mean, Oscar had 10, Keon had 10, Ty had 15, Kellen had 10, and Davion Collins had 10, and then 7 from Davion. Lance had 2 before his injury. Jacob had 2. Yeah, so everybody else is scoring well. Everybody, all the starters except for Severe were in double digits. And again, Davion had 10 off the bench.
Yeah, we got to acknowledge Davion.
Yeah,
he deserves his shine.
He does. Let me finish this real quick though. South Carolina, the most recent game, 18, 15, 14. Again, 4 from Severe, 12 from Kellen, and then 10 from Jacob Toppin off the bench, 10 from Davion off the bench. But Davion is doing exactly what, or against Alabama, did exactly what we've been looking for from him. So we've been hearing from we had Travis Branham on from 24/7 Sports, who's sworn by him. If he gets his body in shape, he's going to end up being one of the best draft prospects we have on this roster. He's started to show signs of it. He's just so frail. He'll come into his body, but we can see glimpses of what he's capable of.
Clearly, the mentality is there because for a player like him, who anywhere else would probably be starting, anywhere else in the country, barring a few programs, for him to stay unfazed after getting very minimal run since, when was it, like early December? He's barely played at all.
Yep.
For him to stay unfazed and to come in prepared, and not only, he wasn't just scoring on dunks, he was composed, and his stroke at the free throw line looked great. And I think that's a lot of the times that's a good snapshot of a player's mental, is how well they can come in and stay composed at the free throw line in a very hostile environment. And he did exactly that. And after that performance, I questioned Cal putting him in. After 2 minutes, I was like, yeah, that's the reason that Cal gets paid millions to coach, and I don't.
Was he 6 for 6
at the free throw line? Yeah. All of them, nothing but net. No question that he was going to make those.
He's got the utmost confidence in himself,
which is big. And I love that for him.
I mean, he had 2 fouls in 9 minutes.
That's fine. But go foul somebody.
But I'm fine with that. I hope he fouls out. Yeah, I mean, seriously. As long as they're not stupid fouls that that puts him on the free throw line when we don't need to or something. But
because where Oscar struggles with length, that is Davion.
Yeah.
He is.
You can't take him with you. You can't take the fouls with you.
Yeah,
that's what Cal always used to say.
That's a very good point. I like that. That's a good saying.
But all jokes aside, he does. He fills the void perfectly with this team if he's able to maintain that consistency.
Yeah. And we've seen Oscar kind of struggle out of the dunker spot because he is such a grounded athlete. He's not necessarily a vertical presence. And it was a great coaching job by Cal to see that they were rotating heavily onto the attack and kind of leaving that dunker spot open. And Oscar can't necessarily jump above the square and get it, but you got a guy who can put him in.
This Florida team might be a game where he's able to get a lot more run. The South Carolina matchup was a little tougher for him, coming off 10 minutes against South Carolina, or up against Alabama. He only had 4 against South Carolina, but wasn't much of a lineup that he was able to execute as we'd like to play him in that spot. I think against Florida he'll have a better chance, but this is going to be a fun game. Saturday, 4:00 game, right? 4:00.
Is that here?
It's here. So that ought to be, this is going to be a good test for us.
Yeah, I'd like to put another 30 or 40 on a really good SEC team. Well, not a really good SEC program. Florida's kind of bad this year.
They're 16-8. They're 5th in the SEC right now. But they don't have, I don't think they have any really token wins. They beat FSU in the second game of the year when they were ranked 20th. I don't even think they've played, besides the SEC schools with LSU and Alabama and I guess Auburn, I don't think they've played anybody else that's ranked. They lost all 3 of those.
Yeah.
Oh, they lost to Tennessee. They lost at Tennessee, who is 18th too. So they've lost every ranked game. I think this is a rough one for them, but
yeah, that's what I'm hoping for. I'd like Kentucky to distance themselves from the rest of the pack even further and show that they are a true upper echelon team who is going to thoroughly dominate anyone that's not, proper competition, because that Alabama team has beaten 2 of the best teams in the country.
Yeah, that Alabama team has the most unique schedule I've ever seen.
Yeah,
I think we talked about that when we were prefacing that in last week's episode when we were prefacing the Alabama game. But I mean, they've beat every top 5 team and lost everyone else. Like, it's the most absurd. We were the
exception to that.
Yeah, it's the most absurd resume I've seen.
Evan Mayakawa, shout out him. He's a great stats guy, but he just tweeted something this morning that I saw. I haven't even mentioned this to you, but it was like a spreadsheet looking at what players have faced the toughest competition matchup-wise, like not necessarily team to team, but player to player. And I don't think this says anything about Alabama other than the fact that they have gotten an egregiously tough schedule compared to every team in the country. Because of those like top 10 guys who have faced the toughest matchup player to player, Alabama was 1, Skip 1. They were 3, 4, 5. Like all their starters were right up there.
That's wild.
Which shows that they've just played way too many very tough games.
Tough games, yeah. They're a good team. They're I don't know what they'll end up finishing at, but they're a tough team. They're going to be a tough out for anybody in the SEC, or in the NCAA tournament. But the Florida game coming up, South Carolina averaged 71 points a game. Florida averages 71 points a game. Kentucky averages 81 points a game. I don't think they can score enough points to keep up with us, just as Alabama couldn't. I'm sorry, just as South Carolina couldn't. They're going to have a problem with us in the paint. Oscar's obviously going to be a problem for everybody. I think the ability for a guy like Collins to come in and offer a different type of attack is going to be, they're not going to have any answers for us. And then obviously our guard play is pretty exceptional. Severe's not going to have another down game either.
It's superior to every team in the country.
Yeah. I'm questioning, or I guess we still have a question mark on Jacob.
I was about to say my boy's hurt.
That he was hurt, so I doubt he plays.
Probably not. There's probably no reason to play him. Yeah, I love Jacob. Me, you, and Tawny got into this the other night. Like, I want everyone who listens to this to, I'll probably send out a tweet of it. Like, will Jacob Toppin be an NBA player?
He'll have a chance.
I think there's no question he'll have a chance. I think he'll be able to crack a rotation. I absolutely think he'll be able to crack a rotation. But
I do too.
I respect Tawny's opinion, and he disagreed wholeheartedly. Travis disagreed wholeheartedly. Travis Branham. So I
think he'll have a shot. And the quick answer is, can he shoot? I think before the last half of this past half a year, he couldn't. Now I think he's capable.
He kind of can. Now.
I think he's capable. So
his stroke looks good.
He'll continue to build on that as he moves forward. And I think he'll end up having a pretty good shot.
So what's the line for Florida?
It's not out yet. But when it comes out, I'll let you know.
What are you going to guess?
I think it'll be like 11.5.
I was going to bet South Carolina to cover. And even though it was a shocking twist of events that they did cover. Yeah. People made money on that. So I don't know I'd have the same confidence for that to happen twice in a row.
Because it's so I'll talk about gambling all day long as far as my predictions, but I'm not going to fault Oscar for what he did, because he, of all people, first off, they're not obviously allowed to be involved in anything like that at all.
Not even that they even care,
but they don't. That's what I'm saying. Even when I was there, we weren't even aware. And of all people, Oscar damn sure doesn't care.
No.
And wasn't, he's not concerned with that whatsoever. Apparently,
he was just being respectful of the opponent.
Well, when I watched it back, I think the reason he was confused by the student section cheering. They're losing the game on the road, and they all start going nuts the last couple of seconds. And we knew it's because they'd bet their team to cover, and they did. So
yeah.
But again, Oscar's the most genuine love of the game guy in the world, and thought he was doing the respectful thing, which we're taught to do by dribbling the ball out. And
I just love him.
He's the best in the world.
He's probably the most compassionate, top tier basketball player that's been around in a long time. In
a very long time. He's genuinely and unapologetically himself. And
it's great.
Honestly, the world needs more people like him, to be honest.
No doubt. The camera's just broke, so we're gonna need to wrap this thing up, I guess.
What do you mean? You stopped working?
Yeah, they're just not working.
Is mine still recording?
No. It says it is, but it's definitely not.
What is going on with these things?
I don't know, dude.
All right. Well, that's more good news coming with the studio stuff, but we'll get to that later. So, all right, Kentucky, Florida, 4:00 on Saturday, and we're gonna take a break here from one of the sponsors and bring in Cameron Mills. You are listening.
Don't say it. Don't say it.
Oh, I'm just kidding. Okay, this is C14.
Dick.
Let me take a second to tell you guys a little bit about our partners over at Bet Rivers Sportsbook. If you haven't signed up with Bet Rivers yet, now's the time because they are offering a $250 match bonus for your first deposit. What sets them apart, though, is that they require just one playthrough to turn your bonus into cash money. With their new Rush Pay instant approval, withdrawing your winnings is safer, more secure, and more reliable. With basketball season tipping off, get in on the action by going to betrivers.com today or by downloading the Bet Rivers iOS app. Must be 21 years or older. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. That's 1-800-GAMBLER. All right. Welcome, Cameron Mills. This is long awaited.
Todd?
This is long awaited, man.
I'm excited about this.
It's good to have the, I don't know, I guess this makes you the third best number 21 in the history of Kentucky basketball.
Let's see. Let's count them down. We got Tayshaun.
Goose, me.
Goose, Tayshaun.
No, Tayshaun's after us.
Is Tayshaun after?
After both of us.
Okay.
It's Goose, me, obviously.
Right. Yeah. Did you get a ring?
This guy.
Huh? I don't. Because I got two. Did you get any? I'm just wondering.
Oh man, I love it. I love it. I almost asked you to bring a uniform. We could do the whole trade.
I can barely fit into mine, but I can't.
We could have done the trade. I can't fit into mine. Okay, I can, but it's like I can,
You're
but
still in shape.
Yeah, but I have like Batman nipples in it. I'm serious.
That's right.
No,
you do.
I'm serious.
I remember that.
I'm serious. Those jerseys were like painted on. Like, I mean, you remember the Eric Bledsoe. You remember the Eric Bledsoe picture though, with the shorts.
What I remember though is I remember you. I think it was you specifically.
It was.
And I knew your dad, of course. I didn't know you and I don't think had met yet.
Yeah.
And I remember it was it when you got your start? Senior
it was
day?
it was on the ticket.
Yeah, that's what it
was. My ticket picture.
What an odd way to start the show. And your nipples were like the size of like silver dollars.
Yes. Well, first off, you know Deb, right? Yes. So on photo day, this is a great way to start the show. So have you seen this picture? It might have to be the cover photo for this episode.
It's so absurd.
So
they look fake.
At picture day, first off, it's in like August. Okay.
Right.
I'm dark tan.
Yes.
Right?
Wait a minute. Now, did you hit the tanning booth?
No, I've never been to a tanning booth ever. I'd been. I mean, it was summer, and you've seen my dad. He's like
Yellow, and I hit the tanning booth.
No, I didn't need to do that.
2 weeks out because we'd had a pale summer.
You've seen my father though. He's like half Indian. He's like half Cherokee. He's dark. He gets dark when you light a match. So I get pretty dark in the summer. So I'm real dark. And we come in to do photo day. I was the first one to go. Deb is like kind of heading it up.
Yeah.
And they were putting baby oil on us and then spraying us with water. And that's how, hang on, before you laugh, that's how, I wish we had a camera on Jordan right now, but that's how they make it look like you're sweating for the photo. So they do action shots.
Baby oil though.
They did baby oil to slick it up and then sprayed us with water. So
boy, things have changed.
I know. So they do that to me, and I was the first one to go. She hadn't quite figured out the ratio yet.
Yeah, how much baby oil?
So I looked like I was about to go like do a wet T-shirt mud wrestling competition, something in Panama City Beach or something.
All right,
and so, we do all the action shots, and then after we did the action shots, she had
what year was this? Freshman?
This is my senior year.
Senior year. Okay.
It's my senior year. So she had us do the...
Because I don't care what your playing time is. When you're senior, you run things.
You run things.
You do.
And especially because
you don't care what anybody thinks.
I was 3 years... Me and Sam Malone and Brian Long were 3 years older than everybody except Willie and Alex.
That's right.
So
and they may have played more that year.
Yeah.
But because that's happened my senior year.
Yeah.
Everybody played more than me. Especially even though I had a great junior year, everyone played more than me my senior year. I was still a senior.
Yeah.
And I wasn't taking any gruff from anybody.
No, you can't.
It's entirely different my freshman year. I came in scared as I could be.
Yeah. Well, we'll circle back to that because I want to talk about what this seniority on this team, even though it hasn't been under Cal's tutelage, has done for this team.
Gosh.
But we'll circle back to that. So the rest of this story, bottom line is they have these fans blowing after they've oiled me up, got me wet and everything, taking these pictures. And they put the ticket picture out because that's what was going to be on the picture, and I'm holding the ball like this.
Right.
And they put it next to the cover of like Batman Returns, where he's actually got,
he's got the fake
fake nipples on the suit, and I've never lived that down. Never lived it down. So my point being is the jersey was like painted on at that time.
And if I remember correctly, I'm trying to remember what years did you play?
12 to 15.
12 to 15. Okay. Oh, that's right.
So I had so my transfer year was 2012. So if we'd have gone 40-0, my career would have been 2012 title.
Yeah.
13 NIT.
Yeah.
The same amount of losses in 14, but we lost to UConn. So we had 11 losses in 13 when we lost to Robert Morris in the NIT.
Yeah.
Then the next year we had the same amount of losses when we lost to UConn in the Final Four or in the championship game. And then the following year,
that was my favorite year of all of Cal's years. That was maybe up until this year. That was my favorite Cal year. That was with Julius Randle, right?
Julius Randle.
Y'all had 8 losses
when Aaron hit all those shots.
That's right. Y'all had 8 losses. I thought Aaron hit all those shots leading up to the Wisconsin Final Four game.
No, 14. Okay. It's what put us in against UConn. It was Louisville, Michigan.
You all
Wisconsin.
Were an average Kentucky team.
We were a 7 seed,
and
or an 8 seed
with maybe 7 losses.
Yeah,
right.
We finished
6 losses, and then you get to the championship game of the SEC tournament, which was out of the blue, and you almost beat Florida. And in that Florida game, because I remember thinking this was one of the greatest, as having a radio show at the time, I was thinking, this is why they pay me the big bucks. Because I saw something in that Florida game that I thought, this is now a different UK team. And then you all went on a tear in that NCAA tournament, got the championship game.
Yeah, I mean,
lost to UConn. It was in the championship. But y'all had 8 losses that year. For an 8-loss team to be runner-up, it's pretty freaking amazing. That
team was very, very different because we were on, I mean, you know the learning curve and how it goes here, right? Mm-hmm. Hang on, I'm going to make sure.
Because it's always a big learning curve.
Yeah, but I mean that's by the end of that year is when Aaron,
see, this is the thing, and this is where I get frustrated with fans. Mm-hmm. Beginning of this year, right? Everyone's on board now. We got a 20-4 team mm-hmm. that is playing lights out. That has I mean, absolutely embarrassed North Carolina, embarrassed Kansas more than anybody. Embarrassed Tennessee. Have played some closer games than we would have liked against Vandy, mm-hmm. South Carolina. But the teams that were supposed to be top. But you go back to that Duke game, and how many fans, whether they truly jumped ship or not, thought poorly of this team. Here we go again. There's going to be no difference in this year and last year mm-hmm. because we lost to a Duke team by what, 10? 7. Thank you.
7.
So by 7.
Who frankly should have beat us by more.
Yes, I was expecting a blowout. Mm-hmm. I was expecting Duke to have embarrassed us, if it embarrassed us, because nobody knew what we had. Mm-hmm. Krzyzewski's teams always start off ready to go. Mm-hmm. But Cal's teams are always so young, this year being somewhat of an enigma from that. Mm-hmm. Cal State, you've got to give them time to get better. And I don't care if you've got a senior lane team like we did in 98. You've got to give them time to get better. I don't care what the preseason rankings are. As a matter mm-hmm. of fact, I hate preseason rankings. I hate preseason awards. It is all garbage to me. And mm-hmm. I mean, I hate it with a passion. Yeah. I am probably unhealthily, if that's a word, angry at the fact that there's such thing as preseason rankings, or even they ought to do what they do in football. When the real rankings come out that are going to say, okay, here's who the top 8 teams are that might make the playoff, and that doesn't come out until 3/4 of the way through the football season.
Yeah.
That's the first time a ranking ought to come out
should be. Yeah, 100%.
Because nobody knows. The mere fact that we're going to take, based on this recruiting class and this person coming back, here's what this team's going to do this year. That's garbage.
100%, especially since part of the biggest thing that we use to analyze college basketball is how they play together under that in that system. And you can't look at a kid that's 17 years old that's never played that's never sat in a stance.
No.
They've never played with a shot clock. They've never played with a 3-point line that distance. They've never sat in a stance that long.
All they have done, and I don't care how good they were in AAU or how good they were in high school ball, they don't know how much harder they're going to have to work. They don't understand what it means to play for 40 minutes because I didn't understand.
I remember having this conversation with Willie one day where he's like, I used to let people blow by me in high school so I could pin it on the glass. And I'm like, I mean, that can happen in college, but most of the time they're equally as explosive.
I'll tell you this though, yes, they are, and they're going to blow by you. Now, it may not have happened to Willie too
a little
often,
bit faster.
They're going to blow by you anyway.
Yeah.
And number 2, a lot of these guys are going to go by you, and they're going to blow by you, and they're going to have the ball through the rim before you get off your.
Yeah, they're explosive. Yeah.
So,
by the way, not to correct you here, but we lost 11 games in 14 and in 13. So the 11th loss in 13 was Robert Morris. The 11th loss in 14 was UConn in the championship. Okay. So we lost the SEC tournament to Florida.
That's right, the championship game.
Mm-hmm, yep, to Florida.
But I remember is that even in that championship game, you guys turned a corner. Mm-hmm. There was something different about
it was entirely different.
Okay, what was it then? And I know you're supposed to be interviewing me, but I'm interviewing you. I mean, what was the difference? Because to me, it showed up in that Florida game. Mm-hmm. Even though you lost, it was all of a sudden, wait a minute, these guys know how to play now.
Well, I think a small part of it, and I'm not putting it all on this, but a small part of it was we hadn't quite figured out, this is JP was playing point guards. Yeah. Jared Polson was starting at point for quite a bit.
Right.
After Ryan Harrow was back and forth.
That's right. I forgot about that.
Willie got hurt. Yeah. In I think it was the Louisville game, which would have been the third game of the tournament.
Oh,
so,
you're talking about the NCAA.
Yeah.
Okay.
Willie got hurt, and that's kind of when, So I mean, that happened. We beat Kansas State, who was the 8 seed, I believe.
Yeah.
And we were the 7.
Okay.
In the first round. Then
that would have been 8-9. 8-9 would have played.
Sorry, 8-9. Yeah. And then we were the 9, they were the 8.
Okay, that makes sense then. Yeah.
And then
now, there was a year when we were 8-9 with Indiana.
Indiana,
we beat Indiana.
I never played Indiana.
Okay, all right.
So it wasn't that year.
Never played Indiana.
So that happened. Well, 2012, my transfer year, when Indiana beat. That was one of Kentucky's 2 losses. It was Indiana and Vanderbilt in 2012. Okay. I wasn't eligible because that was when I transferred.
Gotcha.
So my career would have been title, NIT loss, runner-up, 40-0 had we pulled that off.
And the 40-0 would have been another title.
It would have been the weirdest 4-year
that would have been
span ever.
Almost. I mean, but now this could be a weird if you take the 4-year span. If we do something special this year compared to what happened last year, that's going to be the weirdest 2-year span probably in the history of college basketball.
That's true.
What team has gone? What was our final record last year?
It's 9-16.
9-16,
which is like not many games because we obviously didn't.
Yeah, it's,
20, that's crazy.
Math, that's 25 games.
Yeah, that's crazy. 15 games less than you play if you get to the title. That's nuts. Right. So anyway, back to your question. We had Kansas State in the first round, who was a tough team to beat, tough out, and then Wichita State, who was undefeated. Which is one of the best games I've ever seen. Not only been a part of, but ever seen.
It's funny. I can tell you where I was when we played Duke in '92. Physically, where I was. I mean, I can tell you, I was at 3319 Ridge Cane Road, Lexington, Kentucky, in my living room watching that game by myself. Can't remember where my parents were. I was a sophomore in high school. I can tell you where I was. It's like people can tell you where they were when they heard that JFK got shot. I can tell you where I was in. I was in a La Quinta hotel in northern Atlanta on my way home from a ministry trip,
watching
that Wichita State Kentucky game.
Well, to circle, I mean, that's awesome because it is one of those games. But to circle back,
because they were undefeated, and everyone was saying they were going to crush us. And
I thought, and I remember Robes
and their coach and his wife.
They're nuts.
Oh my god,
they're out of their mind.
I wanted to beat them for no other reason, just to shut both of them up.
Yeah. So I'm actually friends with a couple guys now who were on that team. I didn't know them then.
Isn't that fun?
Yeah.
Isn't that fun to be done with basketball and all of a sudden these guys that you didn't know real well, they're buds.
Yes. So J.R. Simon and Zach Bush, who were both in my position, they were me for Wichita State.
I got you.
And they can ball. I mean, they were good players. But obviously they're playing behind Clay Anthony Early, Ron Baker, Fred VanVleet.
Well,
think about that roster.
Let's do this. You could ball.
Well, I appreciate that, but
here's the thing. This is what people don't get, and I tell people this all the time. The level between I get it. Cal brings in the best recruiting classes every year. Okay, but my brother played NIT ball. Okay, I mean not NIT. Played for NAI. Played transfer university.
He can really ball.
He could.
Yeah.
The level between now, and I'm not comparing him to Tayshaun, but they had a summer where Collier came over, was asked to come over by Coach Newton, CM Newton, and by Tubby to play, and because CM Newton was really close with Don Lane, and they said, would Collier like to come over and play pickup with the guys?
Yeah.
And I'm like, yes, you're going to
100%.
play pickup with the guys because you're only going to get better if you're playing against Tayshaun every day. And apparently, now Tayshaun was a better player, but apparently Collier held his own against Tayshaun.
Yeah, I believe that.
And so my point's always been to so many people, the difference between NAIA and NCAA is not that much.
No.
And the difference between a walk-on who sits the bench and doesn't seem to play, and everyone thinks, I can't play. And actually, because you and I both know, you had moments in practice where it may have been a fleeting 5 minutes. For me, my freshman year, my sophomore year, it was a fleeting 15 minutes. But where I had like 17 points in a blue-white game.
Oh,
now,
yeah.
I was getting eaten up on the defensive end, but I had 17 to the point where Coach Patino had to call a timeout and yelled at everyone.
Oh, yeah.
Saying, you all are letting this MF for Cameron Mills. Who is Cameron Mills? And I'm like, Coach, you let me on the team. You know who is this kid? He's schooling you all. He had to call a timeout. And I mean, this is my sophomore year. I played less my sophomore year than I did my freshman year.
Yeah.
But my point is that you go back, let's take Chris Harrison, for example. Chris Harrison sat the bench most of his career. Okay, he was close to being Mr. Basketball in Kentucky. He scored 76 points in a high school game in Tollsboro. I remember seeing the screen for I think it was WKYT or WLEX. This one particular night he was crowned homecoming king at Tollsboro High. He had 76 points. He had like 25 rebounds. I mean, just blew up one night. He comes insane. To Kentucky, has a probably an average, less than average career, right? if you go back and you watch the LSU game, the big comeback game, right, where we came back from 31 down, Chris Harrison is key in that game.
Yeah.
Everyone considered him a bench warmer.
Yeah.
So what my point is that no matter where you are, if you're on that team, you're practicing against some of the best players in the world.
Yeah. Yeah.
At that level.
100%.
And so, if you had transferred anywhere else in the SEC, you would have played.
I appreciate that. And I do believe it because I think, especially with the way the game's transitioned now, there's a place for the way I played in the game.
Yeah.
But, think about
the far less for the way I played now.
Well, think about
if you can sit and stand still and hit threes, maybe you can find a place. But
yeah.
I mean, that's only if a team's playing zone. That's why everyone that says, I wish Cal would play zone, I'm like, they better not have a shooter on that team then, because if Cal goes zone, that's going to open up those gaps.
Well, think about, to your point, think about the guys that we've had that were walk-ons. Robbie Moss was a walk-on.
Yep.
JP, Jerry Polson was a walk-on. Anthony Epps. These guys are, like you say, the gap. Like a lot of it's exposure, right? Yeah. Hype. If you're on a big AAU team, you go get exposure. The unique opportunity I had was I realized that I wasn't ever going to be a professional, right?
Yeah.
So I was like, all right, well, I can take this mid-major offer and go start.
Yeah.
Or I can take a shot at this dream that they're offering me and build a career out of it because I'm not going to be a pro no matter where I go.
Exactly.
I could go be an All-American at Tennessee. I'm still not going to go get paid.
But now you and I are different.
Hang on. Let me clarify. When I say I could go be an All-American, I don't mean that I would have been an All-American. I meant had I gone somewhere else and been an All-American, it wouldn't have done for me what Kentucky did.
No, and this is why you and I live in the same world where our dads played there. By the way, why didn't you have your dad's number?
Because Ryan had it, he actually offered it to me, and I was like, maybe it'd be cool to do the opposite, to do 21.
Oh, I got you.
And he was 12. And then the next year, they offered for me to change it, and I almost did, and it didn't. And then a week later, Carl committed. And I was like, and he was like, I want 12. And actually, he's the nicest guy, dude. I didn't change. Okay. I didn't change, but he's the nicest guy in the world. Yes, he would have been like, you keep it. I'll do it. I'll do. Whatever.
So I'm trying to think. Jamal McGlure was 21 in high school, and he loved that number. There's a very personal reason he had 21.
He was what, 34 at UK?
32.
I don't know. I made that one. 32.
He may have been 12. I don't know. I have to go back.
I think he was 32.
I have to go back and look at the pictures. I don't know what he was, but this is when I knew that I was.
We'll put the intern on it.
Yeah. Look that up. Look that up there, Joel. Jamal McGlure. I have no idea how to spell his last name. But I don't know. I used to call him the Big Leaf because he was from Canada. So my nickname for him was the Big Leaf. Anyway, so when they recruited Jamal, I thought, because I had 21 because no one else had it.
Yeah.
And because obviously I wanted it, but no one else wanted it.
Yeah.
And I was a walk-on. So I thought, well, this is when I knew, wow, coach actually, like there's a respect here.
Yeah.
Like he's not going to sell this recruit on you can come and have whatever number you want.
Yeah.
No, 21's taken. And that's how he treats. It's like,
that's awesome.
No, our walk-on has 21.
Yeah.
You will not have 21. What else? What other number? And when that happened, I was like, dang.
That's awesome. That
then
speaks volumes.
I felt guilty. I was like, man, I'll give up 21 for this, Canadian National Player of the Year.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, I'd do that.
Yeah.
But I didn't have to. And that's when I thought, man, that's pretty cool. But anyway, back to your point. For what you and I have had to, because what you're saying is exactly the mindset I went through. I was in Georgia this weekend for a ministry gig.
Mm-hmm.
And I was introduced. The guy who introduced me thought it was funny that I turned down a scholarship to Georgia to play at UK.
Yeah.
And I've been introduced in Georgia before at other ministry gigs. No one's ever introduced me that way. And so it kind of became this, I better explain why I turned down a scholarship to these people's school to walk on and have my dad pay my way at UK.
Yeah.
And but when you're in our shoes, it's to do the opposite is what's insanity.
Yeah. Yeah.
Why would I go to Georgia? Now, and don't get me wrong. If UK had not said I could walk on, I would have been a Bulldog.
Yeah.
Because I'm not going to turn down an SEC scholarship.
Yeah,
right?
Of course.
Because I don't care. That's a Big 5, high D1.
Yeah.
But look, I went to games there during my recruiting trip. Basketball is not their passion, and I don't mean the players. Clearly, it's the players. I'm talking about the fans.
Yeah.
I grew up watching 24,000 people go nuts over these guys. I grew up watching the Ed Davenders and the Rex Chapmans, and I grew up going to every game because my dad had tickets. And so we'd go to games, and I'm sitting thinking, why would I want to go play here if this team's telling me, even if I have to walk on, I can play here? Plus, because I remember saying to Coach Pitino my freshman year, actually even before my freshman year, because people bring this up, like Coach Pitino tried to talk me out of walking on. And he kind of did. His point was, are you sure you want to do this? Because you're never going to play here. And I remember telling him, Coach, if I don't play, if I sit here, if I come here and I'm here 4 years, and I sit the bench for 4 years, but I have worn that jersey, and I have run out on this court, and I have my senior day, and I get to be a part of some awfully special teams, because Coach Pitino had been to a Final Four at that point. He had technically rebuilt the program, and everyone knew a national championship was right around the corner at some point, most likely. And so I'm sitting there thinking, why wouldn't I want to come here?
Yeah.
And so I told him, I said, Coach, if I never play and I sit the bench 4 years, I'm okay with that. Now, one of the things I love about him is that he would not let that sort of lowly goal be my goal.
Yeah.
Because he yelled at me more than he yelled at anybody.
Oh, we knew you could take it.
Well, I wasn't sure I could take it.
But he knew.
I think one of the things that Coach P's, I don't know if Cal's like this, but I think one of the things that makes Coach Pitino special as a coach, he doesn't care if you can take it, because the reality is this: we were laughing earlier about those the sneakers that your dad mentioned, the plyometric, right? Yeah. There's a whole Seinfeld episode, right, where I love this line from Kramer, where Kramer says, it's the Jimmy episode, where Kramer's wearing he's looking at these shoes and if you don't know what we're talking about, they have the toe without the heel, right? Yeah. And so they're to build up your calf muscle,
so you can jump like him,
jump higher, right? The way we did.
Yeah.
I never used them. My dad looked into them though in high school. He said, "Man, you gotta look
we
into
used
these."
them. No, we used them. I used them. No, we used them in high school.
Okay, did they work?
I mean,
I don't. Not much.
I mean, you saw my vertical. I actually did get I had a pretty good vertical for a little while, but it wasn't because of those shoes.
While. It came and went.
I mean, it came a little late. I developed a little later, so
That's
it came
fair.
when I was probably 18 or 19.
Okay.
But it went, at 25.
Did you ever dunk a ball?
Oh yeah.
Oh, okay, all right.
Oh yeah.
I dunked one on Jeff Shepard in a pickup game at Seton Center.
And
I even put that on my cat scratches, for the media guide. What's your greatest sports achievement ever? I said dunking on Jeff Shepard this summer.
I would do anything to have this one on video, but I was playing I was playing in a men's league game the year I transferred. So it was the summer. It was 2 months before I was announced on the team. I knew it was coming. Nobody else did.
Right.
I was playing in a men's league game at KVA against Perry Stevenson.
Did you dunk on Perry?
Oh, nasty.
Did Perry know you were coming?
No,
nobody knew.
Mm-mm. It was 2 hands off a miss and 3-point miss.
Oh, you caught it in there?
It was. I would give anything for it. I have 12 people that can attest to it. But
I know, because it's a KBA league.
Oh my! It was. He won't admit it though.
How many KBA leagues? Because I'm trying to remember when KBA basically shut down. But did you play in any leagues after you got done playing?
Well, I did, but
I did, because this would have been right around the time I may have been playing in KBA leagues. I stopped playing because you get around the guys.
They hate they
want to take it.
They want to take it out.
I'm gonna take it at Cameron Mills, and so I'd have guys talking trash.
Oh, running their mouth
in the middle of the game.
And I'm like, dude,
I'm like, dude, we're just having fun out here.
I'm like, I'm sorry, this is your Super Bowl, but
I had a guy.
Relax, pal.
I had a guy one time. From the opening tip, he's talking trash, and every time he's calling for the ball, wanting to take me one-on-one, and he's taking me one-on-one because I don't know if you remember, Todd, I wasn't known for my defense. So he's taking me one-on-one and talking trash. I'm like, dude, you can do this all day long. This isn't going to get me.
Yeah.
And by the way, we're beating y'all by 30, so it's not really doing y'all anything either. You're not proving anything by taking me one-on-one. I said, we had managers that could beat me one-on-one when I was on the team.
I'm going to get all kinds of shit for saying this, but I had a buddy of mine that was playing against me. I'll make sure I send him this clip too. But I had a buddy of mine that was on the team playing against me one night, and he's like running his mouth. He's like, I'm going to get 30. And I was like, all right, well, I'm going to get 50. Being funny,
This is your KBA league.
This is in the KBA league.
Yeah.
This is. I played it for 2 years after I graduated, and it was only when I could get there. It was.
Yeah, right.
So
it's
it wasn't.
Priority. It's for fun or to keep your conditioning up.
But my buddy's playing against me, and he's the biggest. He thinks he's James Harden. He plays like it too. Doesn't hit as many shots as he does.
People.
Not as athletic, but he plays like him. And I'm like, that's what's wrong with the game. So anyway,
that's right.
He's like, I'm gonna get 30. I was like, all right, well, you can have your 30. I'm not even gonna attempt
on his team or
against him.
Oh,
and I was like, all right, well, I'm gonna get 50. And he's running his mouth. So I literally turned to somebody on the sideline. I was like, put that camera on a tripod. And I had 55. Then the next day we played them, I had 58, and then when we played them again, and that year I made sure I made that game for the championship. I had 60, and then I'd never played again. I was like, I can't top that run, so I just
we had one that
put his head on a spike real quick.
Southland Christian had a league over here, and so we had a team that played at the KBA, and it was made up of my brother, who was NAIA Player of the Year in 2001.
His brother could ball. I know you're too young.
Still can, which is
really,
well, I say that he still could. He started to gain a little weight, which makes me feel good about myself. He was 6'8", Jordan. But kind of like you, bloomed late. Like I honestly, and this one, man, I don't think he hit puberty until he was 17 years old. I really don't.
I didn't either.
I mean, he wasn't interested in girls. He was short. All of a sudden, he just kind of exploded right around 17, 18, but because he was shorter. He
played that way.
He learned how to handle the ball.
Yeah.
He was a ball handler. So now he's 6'8" and handles the ball and can shoot. Now, he couldn't shoot as well as Dad and I could, but he could shoot. So Collier's on the team. I'm on the team. A guy named Eli Straight's on the team who played at Gardner-Webb, D1 school. Another guy named Pete was on the team, played at Tampa, D1 school. All small D1 schools. So we were. Oh, and then we had a couple other guys that had played NAI. We were loaded, and we won the KBA league. We were called Alumni Dental.
Oh, okay.
We were the Alumni Dental team, and so we won the KBA league like 3 or 4 years in a row, and then we stopped playing KBA. I think for whatever reason, guys went on with their lives, but we played the Southland League over here. Yeah. And we shouldn't have done that because we were head and shoulders above everybody. It got so the very first game, the other team we were playing walked. I mean, this is a Christian church league. Yeah. And it was so easy for us. We were full, and we were basically doing Harlem Globetrotters against the Generals. Yeah. I mean, they got mad at us, and just got furious and just walked off in the middle of the game because we were throwing things off the backboard, behind the back. We weren't taking anything seriously because we were up like 50 in the first half. Yeah. And it got bad fast. But having those moments where, I mean, that's eventually why I stopped playing. Yeah. Because number one, I never loved the game enough to make it my life. And you, like you said earlier, you knew you weren't going pro. Yeah. I knew I wasn't going pro. Well, I had a dream of it until my first workout at UK. And then I realized, this is the leap from high school to here. Yes. I can't imagine what the leap from here to college.
Like you said, I bloomed late, but I bloomed late because, like, first off, my high school coach did nothing for us. Like, he knew nothing about basketball. Yeah. And I didn't really, like, it was like, you ever seen, I think I've mentioned this to you before on your radio show, I believe, but National Treasure, the movie?
I have not seen it, but I do know. Okay,
so there's a scene in National Treasure where he's looking at Nicolas Cage. Yes, so he's looking at this map, and then they hand him these glasses, and they're basically glasses that so he can see the map, like
the way it's supposed
to be seen. And he puts them on, and he's like, oh, that's what Kentucky felt like for me. When I got there, the things that my intuition told me about the game suddenly were translatable. Like it was like a blueprint that no one had ever showed me before. Right. Basketball to me was pick and rolls and blocking out. I mean, that's it. Yeah. Like that was it. Yeah. And then I learned, I'm like, well, there's no reason it makes sense now why I wasn't good, because I wasn't fast enough to beat people. I wasn't athletic enough to jump over them. I wasn't big enough to block out. Yeah. Now all of a sudden, when I graduated high school, I was 172 pounds. Yeah. My first day at UK, I was 212. The muscle gain there was nuts. The athleticism. I mean, I went from being able to not dunk to here on the rim. Really? And then I have this perspective now as I start to learn the game. Like, I don't have to be faster. I just have to create space. I don't have to be able to get open by powering through them. I have to be able to outsmart them. Yeah,
that was the biggest
move
thing
without the ball.
The biggest lesson I learned. Probably the biggest lesson I learned was how hard you have to work. Like basketball, the moment you hit college, and I don't care what level it is. I don't care if it's in NCAA D3 or NAI D2 or whatever, or NCAA D1 or high D1 like UK, UCLA, North Carolina, Kansas. It is now a job. It is now your career. Whether you're going to go on and actually get paid or not, and thank God they're finally getting some money. Yeah. But whether you're going to get paid or not, this is now your career. This idea of the student athlete in college is the biggest crock.
Oh, it's nuts
in the world. And the only people that don't really understand that are the people who aren't there
who haven't been through it.
They put on a good face and talk about the student athlete. But let me ask you this: if NCAA really cared, and I don't want to get off on this tangent because I could
go all day long.
wax forever on this. But if it was really about academics. Well, then why hasn't there ever been a coach fired from a Division I team because his team wasn't getting it done in the classroom? Yeah. Has that ever happened?
No.
You ever heard of that happening?
No, it's never happened.
No. Why do they get fired?
Because they're not performing on the floor.
Wins and losses. Yeah. Well, then stop calling them student athletes.
I agree totally. And all right, real quick tangent. This whole show's been just tangent after tangent.
That's right.
Like we need a whiteboard to circle back. But real quick, I'll say this, and then while you think about it, I'm gonna go on to something else. Okay. And then we'll come back.
My ADHD.
I want to know. We'll get back to it. I want to ask this so you have a chance to think about it. What deal would you have sought after if NIL was the thing when you were playing? So let me go on this tangent. I'll come right back. So the thing that, like you said, is student athlete, and they do prioritize the classroom as far as you have to go to class. Like they don't let you just skip out on class and stuff.
Oh, right.
But at the same time,
there's a way around that though.
Yeah, I know.
Freshman year, go to every class. Make sure they see you. You never have to go to class again.
Pretty much.
Because they'll stop checking on you.
Pretty much. Yeah.
They will.
Pretty much. And as long as you're delivering on your grades, you're fine.
Right. Yeah.
But I got suspended in the summer.
Academic probation?
No, I got suspended. Oh, sorry. EJ Floriel. That's random.
That's classy.
I haven't talked to him in a while.
Classy.
We'll take that later. So I got suspended.
What a name drop.
I was working.
What a freaking name drop.
I haven't talked to him forever.
Sure.
He just calls
and you didn't text him and say, "Hey, dude, call me here in about 15 minutes."
Actually, hang on.
It's unbelievable.
Yo, I'm on a podcast. I'll call you right back. You're on the air right now.
All right, hit me back.
All right, I got you, Bob.
That was all planned, Jordan. That was all planned.
That might have been the best athlete on campus at the time I was there. Either him or the cheerleader. That could do all the crazy. That dude is a wild man, nuts. Either EJ or him.
Yeah. Anyway.
Josh Marsh. So okay. So I got suspended. I did it. I was it was a walk on. My first year in the summer, I did a summer job for Wildcat Moving, and I literally helped people move. And I got paid like $15 or $20 an hour, which is what everybody got paid, and then we got tipped out at the end of the job.
Yeah.
When school started back, they had put a picture of me, like not trying to do anything crazy, on their website of me actually moving something.
I think I remember this.
Compliance suspended me.
Yep.
For profiting off of my likeness. And I said, I have a job. I was working to pay my bills because
wait a minute, did they give you any extra money for that photo?
No.
Which they should have.
No.
But that would have been a compliance issue.
But that would have been a compliance issue.
Right.
They asked me, did you get paid? I said, I got paid by hourly work. Yeah. They said, well, how do you know that somebody didn't tip you more because you're a UK basketball player? And
how do you know that they did?
I was like, if you think that's what we're dealing with, if you think that somebody's going to be like, hey, go get 20 this year, like, you got bigger problems than that if that's what you think's going on.
It was so ridiculous.
So the first thing I did when NIL stuff happened was call Wildcat Moving. I was like, let's make a deal. Let's do something.
But you never got to?
No, I didn't get to participate. I'm saying jokingly now that it changed this year. I called them and was like,
but that's what's frustrating, and it's also frustrating for those that you got a scholarship, right? Okay,
no,
and look, here's the thing: it's not that I don't appreciate the scholarship that I eventually got.
Everybody else gets internships and jobs when they're in school.
UK Opera Theater. We were talking about that earlier, right? Mm-hmm. There are people in UK Opera Theater, or the UK School of Music, who are on full rides for their musical ability, can also take that musical ability and sing at weddings and get paid.
Yeah.
The athletes cannot do that, or at least could not until this year. And I'm still not sure they can do that because they can't use their ability in basketball to profit off of.
And they
also can use their image and likeness to profit off of.
They also can't use anything connected to the university unless the deal is through somebody who JMI has signed.
Which is interesting because if you go by on Nicholasville Road, right where the iHeart studio used to be, you've got that billboard. Morgan and Morgan, that billboard. Those two guys are wearing Kentucky uniforms, aren't they? So
because
is that a JMI?
Morgan and Morgan has to. So the rule technically, I think, and you can quote me on this. I'm pretty sure. I'm almost positive this is right. But they have to be with JMI, spend $150,000 a year.
Okay,
and then they can use their marks.
Okay.
So
and in that interesting because UK has sued because UK technically, to my and I believe this is correct. The University of Kentucky owns the trademark Kentucky.
Yeah, and it's a state. And they own
How do they own the name of a state as a trademark?
I don't know.
And so anyone who uses the name Kentucky, they have to pay a little bit of money to UK or UK sues them. And I don't know if UK still will, but I remember
if you get big enough,
there was a little bitty distillery down in southeastern Kentucky that had the name Kentucky in their title in their the name of their bourbon. And it made it made national news. UK was suing them.
That means
that we own the trademark for Kentucky.
That's insane.
How is that possible?
Well, if you have enough money to have a lawyer that could fight it,
true.
It's a good chance you're not going to win that one. But,
all right, anyway, back to your question about NIL.
Yeah, I want your.
What would I go after?
Yeah, Jordan's got a couple questions for you, but I want you to answer this one first. I want you to know. I want to know who your deal. Not now, but college. What deal would you have sought after?
You know what I would want more than anything, and this isn't necessarily what would have made me the most money, but it's where my heart is right now. What bothers me. It's not where my heart is. Like, oh, this would be good for the kids, or this would be good as a charitable thing, or something like that. It's what bothers me, and I think NIL basically is going to do away with it. There are stores right now in the city, in the state. There's one in particular that there's a gentleman who does pictures of old UK players, and
like paints or photo. Okay,
paints, and that's part of it. He paints based off photographs that someone else has taken.
Okay,
that's neither here nor there for this argument, but this person wanted to do a painting of the '98 team to celebrate our 20th anniversary, which was a couple years ago. So he came to me and said, I'd like to do this. I said, okay, here's the deal. I can give you permission to do my picture, but you got 13 other guys plus a coach, plus Mr. Bill Kitely, plus C.M. Newton. Now, Mr. Kitely had passed away at this point. C.M. Newton was in ill health down in Alabama. Tubby, I think, was at the time, may have still been in Memphis. You understand, you cannot just put people's pictures, even if you're painting them, their image and their likeness at this point. Now, see, when you're a player, the NIL hadn't come into being yet. So they could do this, but the NCAA stopped them from doing it. But there was no state law, there still isn't as far as I know, that would keep anyone from drawing a picture of me in my uniform with Kentucky across my chest, number 21, clearly me, and prevent them from selling it without paying me a dime or getting my permission.
Yeah.
That's what, if NIL stops that's what I would be involved in, making sure, and I know that's not exactly what you were asking, but that's what frustrates me is that, so I told this person, I said, look, number one, I said, I'm not telling you no, I'm telling you I can't answer for my 12 teammates. I can organize an answer for you. I can call them and see, but I guarantee you, knowing my teammates and knowing me, we're going to want some money out of this. Yeah. Because you're selling our likeness. You are painting it. And this person went ahead without our permission and did it. And had the gall to, number one, paint a kind of collage in the middle. So he had like individual pictures of each of us are wearing this painting. And then he had the gall to paint a picture of us in the middle celebrating while we're on the riser, right? Getting our trophy.
The trophy.
Right. From C.M. Newton, who was the director, who was the president of the basketball of NCAA basketball that year, which was a really cool part of that.
Yeah.
He had the gall to, number one, put our names below each of our pictures. So very clearly who he's representing here. And he put cigars in a few of my teammates' fingers. There were no cigars in that moment.
Yeah.
And now I've got 2 or 3 teammates irate about the fact that I got a problem with this. I was a college student.
Yeah.
I was at the time a couple of them were under the age, and none of them were under the age of 18.
Yeah.
But they were under the age of 21. And whether that's a law or not is immaterial. Is the idea of they did not want a picture
portraying
of
them that way,
portraying them smoking a cigar. Now I have a couple other teammates, myself included, that enjoy a cigar.
Yeah.
And probably wouldn't have cared.
Yeah.
But it was a matter of fact of that you are not only portraying our likeness, but you're portraying our likeness in a negative light as far as we're concerned. And you never got permission from us to do this.
Yeah.
And the NIL is going to change that. Coach Cal yesterday testified in front of the either the Senate or the House of Representatives at Kentucky.
I think it was the Senate.
In the Senate, basically, and I think he and Mitch Barnhart both were there on behalf of the student athlete. I even used to call it student athlete. I can't just roll my eyes when I say that. On behalf of the players, saying, you know what, that this is good for them.
Yeah.
Now, what makes me irate though is the idea that the NCAA being the harbinger for all that is good for the athlete, right? That's who they say they are.
Yeah.
It took the freaking it took 10 state legislatures to pass, or 10 state governments to pass NIL laws before the NCAA would move an inch.
I know.
And all of a sudden, when the NCAA realized we don't have control over what the states do, what are we going to do? Oh, now you know what? Let's let the players make some money off their likeness.
Obviously, Jay Billis says this all the time. There just wasn't enough money to go around.
Well, I love Jay Billis.
He's the man.
I love Jay Billis. And I love
agree or disagree. He's going to tell you what he thinks.
Oh, absolutely.
And that's all that matters.
Absolutely. So, how about this? Let's change subject a little bit, because I tweeted this the other day. You tell me that Bill Walton and Jay Billis would not make the greatest color commentator pair in the world. I would listen to the two of them with. I don't need a play-by-play guy.
I don't even need to have the game.
I just want. I know. Exactly.
I don't even
want
need
these
a game
two riffing for an hour. Those two on a podcast.
Just let's
I would
do
tune
that.
in every day.
Let's do that. Let's get.
They would make fun of each other. They would mock each other. Did you, so I tweeted that the other day, and Billis responded saying something about, I don't think I'd survive the contact high.
Oh my God!
I mean, he called Billis out on.
That's
amazing. He called Walton out on everything, and Walton doesn't care.
No,
he didn't care
not at all.
What I don't get though is the people that don't. Actually, I do get the people that don't like Walton. I get it, but I love him. I love it. All people do is complain about the boringness of college basketball. All Walton does is make it great, because he won't even talk about the game.
He literally. he's one of those people. You know, you have those friends that they'll just like zone out and then they'll just start talking in the middle of their thought.
Yeah.
You know, they'll just be like,
"That's Walton."
Yeah, those penguins. And you're just like, what?
He's a mess.
He's like, oh, sorry.
He's an absolute mess.
That's what he does all the time. No apologies for it.
He is so well spoken, though.
Yeah.
He will go on, and you get the sense that he has scripted and memorized his opening. I wouldn't call them tirades, but his opening monologues, and they're just stream of consciousness.
Riffs. Yeah, they're just off
stream
the
of consciousness, and they're so brilliant. He doesn't miss a word. He doesn't. He just goes.
I think that's what shrooms will do for you.
It's so good.
I think that's what
I don't know what he's on, but it makes for some of the most entertaining basketball play or color commentary there is.
I agree.
Jordan.
All right, Jordan, give us a question. Wait, have we haven't even really talked about basketball. This is great.
We've talked all about it.
No, you haven't actually.
All right.
Jordan's an analytical.
As much as I love,
give me some. What do they call? What are the stats called now?
Analytics.
Analytics.
As much as I love listening to you guys go on your tirades about bullying people in the church leagues and whatever substances
that really
Bill Walton may or may not be on.
It just kind of happened. It happened organically.
I think so. Yeah, I do. Unfortunately, actually, have to ask some journalistic questions here. I'm sorry, but I do have to do it. I want to talk about how the product of Kentucky basketball has changed since you were playing, Cam. Okay. Because, in my opinion, and it's been a subject on Twitter that I know the two of you have seen, the home environment doesn't seem to mean as much as maybe it did way back when. And I think maybe a part of that is because the brand has gotten so big and, in my opinion, kind of sterile.
Well, okay, so if you go back 98, what is that, 23 years. So you go back 23 years to my senior year. We were still selling out. You're talking about like home games, like the home game environment. So the thing is that the reputation Rupp has as not necessarily, like, it's cavernous, it's big, it can be intimidating, and it can have intimidating moments. But I think sometimes we play it up as though it's a hard place for opponents to play. I don't know that it is. I don't think it is. And I don't think it's ever been, to be honest, because I think the reputation that Rupp has, accurately or inaccurately, right? I mean, you go to Cameron Indoor, it only seats 10,000. I mean, that's just twice as much as my high school arena sat. I mean,
my high school arena.
You can. It's a lot easier to make a small arena, right? Like if you take a cavernous place like Rupp Arena and you put 24,000 people in there, or 22, whatever it sits now. It can get loud, but something pretty special is going to have to happen for it to get loud. Like, you're going to have to go on a ridiculous run that brings you back to win a game. You're going to have to, a last-second shot's going to have to be hit, or it's going to be a back-and-forth game that all of a sudden Kentucky in the last 3 minutes just goes on a tear, and crowd erupts, right? I remember thinking the loudest I've ever heard Rupp Arena was in a loss. It was senior day in 1997, and we were playing South Carolina, and it was a back-and-forth game. South Carolina had a good team then. And that was the team a Kentucky team that would go on to the national championship game and lose to Arizona. It was senior day, and it was back and forth. It was a grueling game. And then we had a couple threes down the stretch that basically looked like we were going to win. And I've never heard Rupp Arena louder. But we ultimately lost that game. I don't think – but here's the other side of that. And Todd, is there a place that you went into an away game, let's say in the SEC, or it doesn't have to be SEC? Maybe it could be Kansas. It could be Carolina.
I'll tell you exactly who it was.
Okay, but was there a place that you felt as a team or as an individual? Well, I don't like playing here. This place is intimidating, and this is a hard place to play.
Yeah. So you hear that about Indiana. Again, I didn't travel for that game.
I never was. All our Indiana games were in third-party places. Yeah. It was the RCA Dome or it was in Freedom Hall.
I never really liked some of the obvious ones. I mean, North Carolina, Kansas, but some of even the SEC schools like Florida.
Yeah.
Florida's literally the swamp. I mean, there's a pool in the same facility, so it's like muggy, and the fans are. I mean, the bench, like if the bench is seated right here, the fans are right here.
South Carolina,
like they can reach over and touch you.
Yeah, South Carolina used to be like that. Coach Keno actually got into altercation with a fan who was sitting right behind him one year.
And so Florida's that way. There's a couple other places in the SEC that way. But I mean, think of even this. Nerlens' injury happened at Florida.
Right.
They clapped.
Yeah.
Like.
Yeah.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that's conducive of their entire fan base.
Right.
But,
no, I get
but
that.
they were like.
But what I'm asking you is there a place that as a team, now part of it is we're Kentucky and we shouldn't be going in anywhere and being intimidated, but was there ever a road game that you ever felt like their fans and the fact that we're on the road and that we're in their gym won them the game? Now you didn't
won them the game over us?
Yeah. Because see, that's what I don't think people understand. I don't think there's a lot of Jordan. I don't think there is a whole lot of anywhere. I don't think there's a home environment. I don't think there's a home advantage. Is what I'm saying. I don't think there is.
I'm in the camp. My favorite player in college to watch, not when I was in college, but through college, was JJ Redick.
Yeah,
because and people hate when I say that because I'm not saying I'm a Duke fan. Right. I'm a JJ Redick fan.
Exactly.
He would get off on getting booed.
Yes.
Like he wanted to play away games. He wanted to be hated.
Yes.
And people thought like, oh, it irritated him so much and they'd hate him more. And he's like, I'm like, you are hyping this man up.
Exactly.
You're booing him. He's going to come in and ruin your weekend every time.
Jordan, let's go this. We talked about this before we hit record. Okay. That video that UK released of the guys taking the court at Kansas. That's what people don't get is when you go into a hostile environment and they're hostile and they're yelling things at you and they're degrading you and they're getting. I mean, did you see them light up?
Yo, I know.
Those 5 players lit up. They were like, "This is what we want."
I want to tell you,
bring your hate because we feed off of it.
I got to tell you this quick story because it's not when you worded the question as intimidated to play then it changed my answer, right? But the craziest moment in that video, right? That video at Kansas where they're walking out and they're showing up close. The guys are looking into the crowd and they're just like, they're licking their chops, right? That moment for me and my teams that I remember clear as day was the first game in the Yum Center.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So this was the year. This was the first time we went with Nerlens in my freshman year, and they played. So it was a CBS game, and you know CBS games have
was it a Louisville
8-minute
game?
timeout at Louisville. Louisville. It was Louisville.
Could have been a Yum game.
No, it was Louisville. Okay. It was Louisville. So we're playing Louisville. It's like the day after Christmas.
Right.
We were number 1 or 2 or something, or we had been number 1. I can't remember where we were that day exactly, but it was a high ranked game, big game, and it was a CBS game, and they're super long timeouts. They're coming back from TV.
Like
is
3
stuff
minutes
is nuts.
Stupid.
And so we did the opening announcements.
Again, it's all about student athlete, Jordan. Remember that.
Yeah. So we did the starters, and the 5 guys are, we after they announced the starters, we come to our huddle while they do their starters, right? Then they went to a commercial. Right. So
you got to warm up all over again.
Yeah. So the 5 guys. So we're coming out of the huddle, and we're waiting on the cameras to come back so we can start. And so our 5 guys are out there ready to tip.
Yeah.
And they started playing Rihanna's "Who's Gonna Run This Town Tonight."
Yeah.
And
I think it's Jay-Z's and Rihanna.
Jay-Z and Rihanna, but there was no beat. I'm serious. Listen to this. There was no beat.
The idea that I know that
Rihanna. There's no beat. Rihanna's voice pierces the crowd, and it's like, feel it coming in the air, and then the beat drops, and that like you could feel the heartbeat of the arena.
Yeah.
And it was the most mesmerizing. It was the first time that I caught myself standing up on the floor going.
Which was the great part about that video because you saw Grady and then you saw Ty and you saw like they're looking around.
They're in awe
of the noise.
Us up. Now, here's
the thing. They're in awe of the noise, but they know the noise is for them.
It's for them.
It's for them.
And then you got
Joe Schmo comes in here and play, these people are going crazy.
Tickets to South Carolina. South Carolina played Auburn and Kentucky back to back. The tickets were 25% higher for the Kentucky game than they were Auburn. Auburn's number 1. Right. And then they say they didn't come out. They didn't show up for us.
Right.
Bottom line, that moment right there is what makes it all worth it.
Yes.
Like they don't get to see, and you're gonna have your performances and all that stuff, but I'm a big fan of, especially with sports, staying even keel. You don't get too high on the high moments, you don't get too low on the lows.
Right.
That moment right there is, regardless of your performance, you can take a second and appreciate what you've earned.
But here's the key part about that moment, and I think you're bringing it up, and I think this is what makes this team dare I say, special, because they're not special. They're special. Okay. What Davion Mintz has done for that little girl and going to her prom, that's incredible.
Yeah, it's awesome. They're going to be his guest on Tuesday.
24 hours, he stopped by the Humane Society.
Or Saturday.
And
they're going to be, that family is going to be his guest for Florida Saturday.
See, I mean, this is a special group of young men. So but whatever they do at the end of the season, there's something cool about this team.
Yeah.
But what was special about that video is that we all know what happened right after that video went to black.
Yeah.
We know that we dismantled the number 5 team in the country and embarrassed them on their home court. That's what made that special. Now, if we lose that game by 20, that video is never made.
Yeah.
And nobody bothers to show how they but because we know what. And what's special about this team is, and you said it earlier, because they've got some older guys.
Oh, yeah.
They've got some guys with seniority
who know
experience, who know I'm not going to, I'm going to live in this moment, but then we got work to do for 40 minutes. And they came out and did work for 40 minutes.
They did.
And that's what makes that special, is they lived in that moment, but then they shut it down and said, no, we got 40 minutes of work. So no play, now work.
If you had showed me that video before tip-off, I would have hammered the spread.
I would have been a mess.
Hammered the spread.
Absolutely.
Like the look in their eyes there was no doubt, no intimidation. They were like, this is what we worked for.
Want.
But when you look at, like you said, and then we'll go back to Jordan for his next question, but when you look at this team and you talk about how, the transfer rules, like there's no sitting out anymore, right? You got Oscar came from West Virginia. He was good. He was a double-double, but he wasn't like this. He wasn't this. Now he's, that leading candidacy for National Player of the Year, the Wooden Award. Then you got Kellen Grady, who was 2,000-point guy at Davidson. You got Severe, who was
when he
point
came
guard
in. What were we saying about him? We were saying about him, he plays like Steph Curry. And the reality is, he's not Steph Curry.
No, but
he's looking like a young Steph Curry.
Well, he needs to have the ball in his hands more than he was at the beginning of the year. And Cal's figured that out. And now he's
But do you remember, like when you and I were talking about this earlier, biggest thing I learned, that I had to work harder, right? How to work when you get to this level. I also learned how to come off a screen.
Yeah, that's big.
And that's why I love watching Steph Curry at Davidson. I love watching him now. Now he can yo-yo you all day long and throw up a 3, turn his back and splash it, right? That's what makes him so much fun to watch.
It's so good.
It's the arrogance with which
I like him the way, because other people hate him. Like the same reason.
Oh, yeah.
The same reason that I like him is the same reason other people hate him.
Well, it's look, the bottom line is all these shirts at Kentucky against the world, right? Is that everybody hates it. That's right. That's the Kentucky we want. I don't want ESPN to talk good about us.
Yeah.
I want ESPN to rail on us.
Yeah.
I want everybody to rail on us. I want everybody to hate us. Because if they hate us, that's respect.
Yep.
That's
exactly
all that is.
But with this team, back to your point, you got Oscar, Kellen, and Severe that all transferred in as quote unquote vets.
Right.
You got Davion and Keon who played under Cal.
Right.
The pressure on a guy like Ty, like last year, is insurmountable.
Yeah.
Now he's got no weight on his shoulders. He can go out and give us 17 and 17.
Yeah.
And
or
not. Or not. And literally, Davion and Ty combined for 2 points at Kansas.
Yeah.
If you'd have told me that was going to happen, I'd have been like, well, we're screwed.
And that's the gloriousness of this team too, because again, we
didn't even
we're
notice.
Not relying upon one person.
Exactly.
And again, I don't want to compare them to the 98 team too much, because I think they're probably better overall talent wise than we were in 98. But who's the star?
Yeah.
I mean, Oscar's the star.
Yeah, but
he is.
But
Oscar's not going to be the leading scorer every night.
No.
So you can't go in and say, guys, we got to keep this guy off the board, because you're not going to be able to keep him off the board anyway. And he proved that at the Kansas game.
Yeah, but his people don't, I think, underappreciate. They want to talk about his rebounds because they're like, oh, he's got so many rebounds.
Averaging 15.1 a game or something.
Yeah, but they look at rebounds like it's a stat sheet piece. I look at rebounds like you gave us 15 chances to score a basket.
Well, and if you notice about Oscar, and I tweeted this the other day, and I think it was from the Kansas game. We were on our tail. We were already up 20. And think about it. We're up 20, right? Now, you could say Oscar's padding his stats, or you could say Oscar knows how to play as a senior. That basically, bottom line is, Davion is someone shot a
junior.
Three. Junior, thank you.
Which is nuts.
Upperclassman.
Yeah.
He's got one more year.
I know.
I hope he stays.
He might.
But so Davion or someone shot a 3 from the wing, and you got 3 Kansas players just standing around in the lane,
and he outworked all of them.
Well, that was one play.
Yeah.
I mean, he outworked them for 3 offensive rebounds and 2 points.
Yeah.
But then there was this other little play that kind of went unnoticed, because we scored, but Oscar didn't get the points. What Oscar did is, the moment he saw, and I think it was Davion, shoot the 3, Oscar ripped around and
hit somebody. Yep.
And went and put a body on. That's what they tell you to do on the other end of the court.
Yep.
They don't teach you necessarily, now Cal may, but you don't think a lot about that. Wait a minute. Oscar's going after offensive rebounds the way everyone else is taught to go after defensive rebounds.
Yeah.
To go smell the ball. Oscar smells the ball on offensive rebounds. He almost, and there have been a couple of games where he has had more offensive rebounds than defensive rebounds. That's, you know how many extra possessions that is a game? And how much that adds
It's his oxygen. Like, that's what he's after.
But that was the amazing thing about that video that I saw. Because it was basically just a video of the highlights with Tom and Mike Pratt calling over it. But the way he swung around, the intensity that he swung around, went and found a blue shirt or a white shirt. I guess it was we would have worn blue, a white shirt, and immediately bumped him. And because that guy's now he's got to focus on Oscar. Yeah. Because you better focus on Oscar. Yeah. Now our other teammate comes from and I forget who it was. It may have been Toppin or Leia.
One of the two.
One of them. Yeah. No one put a body on him because you had to put a body on Oscar because Oscar attacked the rim for offensive rebound. Jordan, next question.
All right.
By the way, to answer your question, the first one, I don't think there's TV has a lot to do with it because I would rather watch a game from home. But Rupp has always had the reputation as not being the Cameron Indoor Stadium.
Well, you got the boosters down low too.
You do, but you know what? The reality is, guys, every place has the boosters down low.
Yeah,
we've got our eruption zone. Our eruption zone is awesome, but the thing is that I don't care where you play. Once that ball is tipped, it doesn't matter where you are. Yeah. And that's why I was asking that question earlier. I was more nervous for my high school games than I ever was for a game at UK. And you could say that's because I never played at UK. Well, that's partly true, right? Mm-hmm. I didn't have a lot of pressure on me before my UK games. But there were games I was going to have to play, and I knew that. And I wasn't nervous. Well, and I wasn't nervous because what I knew is the moment that ball went up in the air,
it's just basketball.
And it's like that. It's like that scene out of Hoosiers. Mm-hmm. It's the court's the same. It's the same length. It's the same width. The rim's 10 feet. It doesn't matter what's going on outside. And believe it or not, when that game is going on as a player, that is all tuned out. I don't think we can do anything about making Rupp a more intimidating place to play. The only thing that makes us Rupp an intimidating place to play is that team has to be intimidating.
I want to piggyback what he's saying real quick, and then I'll throw it back to you. So not only do you kind of, in all seriousness, zone out and like tune out the crowd. Really like you feed off of it, but you don't even see it. It's like being on stage at something
the
like
free throw thing that people that is never thrown off a person ever.
No.
Now I hope they do it. I hope they go crazy. But this, making noise through the clear backboard.
Most people aren't looking there.
No,
like you're focused on the game and executing. And you've done. These are things you've repped hundreds of thousands of times.
There's 1,000 things you're thinking about.
About the game.
About that game. Like that scouting reports. Our scouting reports were 40 pages long.
Yeah.
Okay, so I got 40 pages worth of material that I have to be focused on. Yeah, the last thing I'm worried about is what's going on.
You're on that free throw line, and you're talking. You're like, all right, pinch him.
Yep.
Get off the line here, and we're going to get back into this. You're not looking at that.
The crowd, and I think that goes both ways.
But I want to piggyback that point just for a quick second. Yeah. The practice, people always ask me the same thing. They'd say what's it like playing against these guys? Obviously, I played very little in the games, but in practice, I'm like, same thing to your point. I'm not going to diminish what Devin Booker was, right? I'm guarding him every day in practice, but he was just a little bit better. Yeah. And when I say a little bit, I mean relatively. He was a little bit better at the game than I was.
Right.
It's still a match. Like, I can't be worried about him making his announcement to commit to Kentucky on ESPN, and it happened in a back room for me over the phone. I can't be concerning myself with the fact that he's going to sign a max deal in a couple years because he's so much better. It's literally like my job right now
in that moment
is to stop you from scoring.
That's right.
What's the best way I can think of doing that? Or flip side, my job is to get a shot off on you. Yeah, you're 6'5" and faster. Yeah. So how do I take advantage of that?
Right.
And that's just how you have to approach it. And it just boils down to it's basketball. You've done it your whole life. You've done these reps 100,000 times. Get to your spots and figure out how to do it.
The only thing that might add during a game, the difference, because I was thinking the difference between the KBA games we were talking about and a game at Rupp Arena that counts, right? Is the pressure you put on yourself.
Yeah.
The fans aren't going to, and that your coaching staff puts on you and your teammates put on you. That's the pressure you feel. I remember thinking, my senior year especially, because I had a few injuries that year, my junior year as well. I remember thinking I was never worried about disappointing the fans.
Yeah, same.
I was terrified of disappointing my teammates.
Yeah, same.
That's what I didn't want. I did not want to let my teammates down.
95% of the shots that I'm going to get in a game situation or in a blue-white game or anything like that, I can make, because I'm not going to force something up. I'm going to take something I'm used to. I know I can execute on.
Wait a minute, what'd you do senior day? Did you jack any on senior day? I thought you told me you did.
I shot a couple on senior day, but we were also undefeated coming off of what should have been. We were down 7 with 4 minutes left at Georgia, the game before my senior night, and I was like, I might not get to start if we don't win this game, and it's going to ruin an undefeated season. So
that's true. Which would have been best thing for us.
So we were out. We were out decently quick in that game because we were literally
worried
undefeated.
about
But the blue-white game, my first blue-white game, I actually won the game from the free throw line with 1 second on the clock.
My best game, I would say I had a 31-point game my senior year against Florida that we lost. Yeah. Other than that, my best game was a blue-white game.
I mean,
because I was playing.
Yeah,
I mean, but again, you got to have 10 UK players in a blue-white game.
Once the ball rolls out there, it's basketball.
And you forget about everything else.
Like if you could convince yourself to approach a game, even like that in that Kansas environment, the same way that we're going to approach a KBA men's league game. Yeah. You're the same player with the same skill set. It's the same round ball. It's the same 10-foot goal. Yeah. The only difference is the guys that are trying to prevent you from scoring are much better.
Yeah.
But if you,
but again, if you're played taking together shots, and practiced,
but if you're getting to your spots and taking shots that you're comfortable taking, it's all the same.
It's all the same.
It's all the same.
So I don't know if I answered that, Jordan, but I honestly do not think that there's much more that's made from the intimidation factor of playing away or home.
So while we're on the subject of, well, we're not really on it anymore because you guys did what you do.
But we can jump back in.
Comparing this year's team to your '98 team, and we talked about how. Sure, Oscar's clearly the best player, and he's the focal point, but he's not necessarily the guy that you're relying on every night. So I think a big part of that, and me and Todd have discussed this in previous episodes, is buy-in from the rest of the rosters. The detachment of self in favor of the rest of the team. Nowadays, that, I feel, is a little harder to come across. Part of that is due to players caring more about their points and personal stats and trying to capitalize on their own brand. Exactly. Yeah. So I just want to hear from you if you think buy-in has changed at all.
I do agree with you that I think it's probably harder today because, well, and I've heard people argue that the NIL is going to make it even harder. I don't think that's true, because if you didn't think there was a hierarchy in the locker room already, then you don't really understand how locker rooms work. There is a hierarchy in the locker room, and the fact that such and such is now going to be making money because of his name and it's more powerful than my name isn't going to change the hierarchy. The hierarchy now it emphasizes the hierarchy more, but it's not going to ruin a team. I do think what's harder, though, and this is where I get into complimenting Cal, because the greatest thing Cal has done since he's been here is not been recruiting all these number one recruiting classes. It's taking these number one recruiting classes, and number one, for the most part, I can think of maybe one or two players that I won't name.
It's ego management.
Yes. Yeah. It's the mere fact he is able to convince these guys that we go further than you, and that if you will buy in to what I'm teaching, right? I hate the phrase "trust the process," right? That Philadelphia Phillies, not Phillies, the 76ers, trust the process. But if you will buy into the process,
he's like, I love it.
If you will buy, have you been waiting for the process to work? If you will buy into the process of what Cal has, and that's part of why I think not only that he gets great players every year, last year being somewhat of an exception, just because a lot of factors I think went into last year. COVID probably being the chief one of them, but if you can convince these guys that, look, I know this is what happened in '98. In '98, we had a brand new coach who had been successful, but not at the level we had been, right? Tubby had won. He had gotten to the Sweet 16. That's as far as he'd gotten in the NCAA tournament, and he'd gotten the championship game of the SEC tournament the year before and been beaten by us. So he was a new coach. Now, he came from the Patino tree, which gave him some credence with us, but he had to convince us to buy into his way of coaching and the way he did things. And we did not do that very well for the first 3 quarters of that season. But what happened with us is we lost what turned out to be our last game, which was the Valentine's Day game against Ole Miss at home. And see, this goes back to your prior question. 98 team lost more games at home than we lost on the road. So it was, even in 98, it wasn't that Rupp Arena wasn't an intimidating place, or it was that we weren't an intimidating team. And that's what you have to have. But as far as getting buy-in, yes, I think it's harder. But I think somehow Cal is able to get these guys. I go back to Devin Booker. You brought him up earlier. These guys.
Never started a game.
How many freaking guys that Cal has had, and I love the attitude of the fans. Well, can't believe Cal didn't win a championship with these guys. I'm like, no. Cal had these guys for 1 year at their youngest. He had it when they were 17, 18 years old. You're looking at a 25-year-old man now who has spent 6 years in the league getting beat up on.
And you know how he got that type of knowledge to come in with that leg up in the league?
Because Kentucky's a pro basketball program.
Yes.
And that's how Cal runs it.
Yeah.
And that's how he should run it. Now, I love the idea that what makes this year's team special is that we got some older guys, and we need older guys. The 2012 team was all about Darius Miller. Darius Miller won us the national championship 2012. Yep. He was the guy that played, that there was respect for, and that you could turn to and say, when we're down 10 with 8 minutes to go, guys, this game isn't over.
And he was an extension of the coaching staff on the floor, which is one of my favorite things to say because he hates it because I say it all the time. But Darius was that guy that understood how to translate what Cal was
saying,
demanding. And
what
he was the older brother, like hey, I've been through this.
That's
and
the thing.
here's what you need.
And that's
here's how we do
this
this.
So, but your question about buying in, somehow I think Cal's just able to do it. Now, and I also think this, Cal has recruited not only number one recruiting classes, he's recruited some awfully good kids.
Yeah, great kids.
I mean, we haven't had any. I can think of one knucklehead that we've had, right?
In his years? Maybe two.
I couldn't even tell you what year that was.
I can name probably two.
Okay, all right. But you were closer than I was, so you knew the knucklehead in this.
Actually, none of them, to be honest, were on my teams. Okay. I didn't have, but I can think of two.
When we stop recording, I'll tell you who I think was our biggest knucklehead. But we've had one. And I remember, and this is before Cal, but this is Tubby went through the same kind of thing in recruiting where he basically was recruiting kids because this is Tubby's heart. Tubby's heart is kind of like Cal. He wants to change these kids' lives. Yeah. And he knows that financially he can change them by making them a pro before they have to be a pro.
Yeah.
And that's going to whether they immediately make an impact in the NBA or make it 5 years later.
Yeah.
That they're going to learn how to be a pro at Kentucky, and that matters. But Tubby started recruiting kids that people were saying, this kid would be good. Tubby would be good for this kid. Because basically this kid was in an environment at home where maybe dad wasn't around. Maybe he didn't have a good male role model in his life, or it wasn't all his recruits, but a few of his recruits. Tubby even said, he goes, I've been recruiting kids that people said I would be good for. He said, I'm not doing that anymore. He said, I'm going to go get kids that are going to be good for Tubby Smith.
Yeah.
And what he obviously meant by that was, I got to go get kids. I can't worry about saving kids' lives.
Yeah.
My job is to make Kentucky the best basketball program there is. The genius of Cal is he's able to do both.
Yeah.
He can go get good kids, and get them. And I think that's part of it too. They're so good. I'm not saying ego doesn't factor in. Of course it does, because we've all got an ego. But he can somehow deflate their ego to the point where he said, guys, look, if we play, if we go to a national championship game or we go to the Final Four, you're all better off in the draft than if we have what we had last year.
Yeah.
Because what we had last year, nobody's going to get drafted based off last year, right? They may eventually, but not just based off last year. What Cal's able to do is to get these teams further and further. Because, again, one national championship in 13 years? Mm-hmm. Okay? 12 years. 12 years. But he's been in the Final Four 4 years.
Yeah.
I mean, he has done more than I think people give him credit for. But I think the greatest thing he does is he gets them to lay their ego aside. Yeah. And that's what you have to do.
I'll go so far as to say not only the ego, but also, and I don't mean this negatively, but they have so many people pulling at them. Okay. So many hanger-ons.
More so now than even we did, because now you've got social media pulling at them.
It's nuts. So there's so much outside influence from whether it's a family member or,
or one of their boys.
Or their friends.
Or their cousin that they've never met.
Exactly. And they're getting pulled a million different directions, and they want to they want to please their family. They want to do what's best for them. They want to make sure that everybody's taken care of. But the best way to do that is to focus on the task at hand while you're here. Prepare yourself for what the future is going to hold. With that said, I think because of the NIL changes, every player, every team should require that the players go through a financial course with business.
Absolutely. Why weren't they doing that anyway?
They should be, but they should have to be able to balance a checkbook.
If we're worried about
be able to have
athletes,
to file their taxes.
If college is to prepare these kids for life, why aren't they having to go through this anyway? Every student should have to.
I learned P&Ls and balancing spreadsheets and accounting and all that, and building a resume.
Right.
I have 3 business degrees.
Yeah.
I had never, think about this, when I got out of school, hadn't had a job, right? I didn't know how to file taxes.
Yeah.
I have 3 business
degrees. To be fair, a lot of people don't. That's why we have accountants.
But I know, but I'm saying I didn't know how to fill out a W-2.
I didn't know
whether to claim 1 or 0. I'm serious.
You claim 0 until you have a child.
But I'm saying I literally wasn't. They don't teach you that in business school. And that's something like
it would have been helpful, wouldn't it?
I mean, I'm saying it would be like now that these guys are getting money.
Yes,
school. I don't think the school should go as far as to assign them any type of representation, whether it's financial or not. Because if they screw up, I'm suing the hell out of the school.
I will tell you this: some of these guys, and I can think of one in particular right now, has a lawyer.
Yeah, and they should. 100%. But I'm saying the school shouldn't assign it because then if anything goes wrong, the schools open themselves up to exposure.
But the school should help to say, hey, you need a lawyer.
Yes.
And that's been the whole issue all along. These kids have had no representation for anything.
Yeah.
It has basically been the school, what the school says, what the NCAA says, that is law. Yeah. The only way around it is if you go overseas or you just don't play college basketball.
So to
keep going, I got to text my wife. She's wanting to know where I am.
You can go whenever you need to. So to extend your answer or to circle back to your answer, there's a lot of things going on in that locker room, a lot of stuff at play. Cal needs, especially with the NIL, and has done a fantastic job of getting them to focus on the task at hand, tune all that out. They need to have people around them that are going to take care of it, but finding who those people are that you can trust at that point as you're starting to blow up is difficult.
Yeah.
I mean, trust is something that takes years and years to build and can be broken in seconds. Mm-hmm. And they need, they don't know who to listen to at this stage, and their best,
they're listening to their friends from their childhood, or their parents, and their parents may not even know the best things at this point, because again, their parents may have had a lot of good common sense and wisdom when it comes to dealing with high school stuff. But now we're in $1 billion territory. Right. Kentucky basketball as a program is worth a whole lot of money. And now these kids can make a whole lot of money off their image and likeness, which is good. But look, I've got teammates that made a whole lot of money after their careers that didn't take care of it. Right. And didn't know they had to pay taxes. Didn't know they had to pay taxes, or got involved in some, and unwittingly got involved with some shady people who made some bad decisions. Or
you're running around trying to take care of too many people.
Well, and that's what I think a lot of people don't understand is I ran into that myself. And again, I wouldn't make it a whole lot of money, but I was taking full advantage. When I got done playing ball, I was doing autograph sessions. I was doing barn. I was doing endorsements, anything I could to make $1.
Yeah.
Because I'd been waiting for this. That's part of the sell of Kentucky is you come here, you keep your nose clean, you be good to the fans, you be good to people, you be a good person, and you're going to have to get a job and work.
But that's why you're so well respected.
Taken care of.
That's why you're so well respected.
But you're going to be. But my point is, you're
by
going to be
people that don't know you. Obviously, I know you, and you're.
Thank you.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But
that's the point is that you're going to have to work your tail off. No one's going to give you free money, but they're going to give you a free opportunity.
Yeah.
And that's what comes with playing at Kentucky. That's a big deal that comes because if you don't go to the NBA, which used to be most of us, it's no longer most of us. Most of us now go to the NBA.
Yeah.
But if you don't, then you're going to be given opportunity, and it is a huge, huge blessing. Now, you don't want to blow it. And you want to do the right things and for the right reasons for the right people, but that's a big, big thing that a lot of people don't get. That's probably the biggest. If we want to talk about entitlement, that's probably the biggest entitlement that comes with playing basketball at Kentucky.
Without a doubt.
Is that if you're going to be a Todd Lanner or a Cameron Mills and you're not going to make your money in the NBA playing ball, you can have a career doing practically whatever you want as long as you work your tail off, you do the right thing, and you do right by the right people.
Treat people 100%.
Right. Yeah, that's the best way to say it. All right, Jordan, any other questions?
He's spot on. To pivot back to you, you got one more?
Come on.
Oh, that's it?
That's it? Come on, Jordan. Give me one more.
Okay, well,
just ask me.
Hang on.
What's my favorite color?
Hang on.
Ask me about my love advice.
Hang on. Let me
say, Cameron, what kind of love advice would you give me?
Hang on. Let me put a clean bow on this.
Right.
So
a clean bow.
A clean bow.
As opposed to a dirty bow?
Yeah, as opposed to.
Do the Lanners save their old bows?
My mom saves.
Does she really?
All of, yeah.
My family, my wife's family does too. I can't open a Christmas present without looking at my mother-in-law and saying, "Here."
My mom is down grabbing it when I'm throwing it off. What is that? Ridiculous.
It's like they were raised in the 1920s. Or the 1930s, right after the Great Depression, it's like there was a ribbon shortage.
Oh my God! All right, so I'm gonna tie this up with this.
Okay.
One of the biggest moments for me, like realization of like how the world worked, I guess, with Cal, was when we were not playing well in 2013. This is like even before Nerlens got hurt, we were losing some games we shouldn't be losing.
You were.
And he says he calls. We have a meeting in practice, and it was one of those where most of the time you go to the meeting room, he sat us down on the floor, like he's like. Everybody sit down.
Really?
Yeah, literally. We're all chilling out on the floor, stretching out. After practice,
I got you.
know?
Not like sitting crisscross applesauce.
No. We're doing our. That was.
I've got
that
that picture in my head though, Jordan. How great would that be?
That would be a good sight. We're doing our band stretches after practice,
all right.
and Cal kind of walks over to us, and usually he's out by that time. He's giving us our time.
Yeah.
And wow, number 2.
Come on, dude.
And so he comes out, to the floor, and usually this is when he's dismissed himself and he's off looking at tape. And he comes over and he's walking around while we're doing the stretches, and he goes, I can't make you do this. You want to make a career of this. You want it to be your life. You have to love it. This gym has to be your solace. And if it's not, then you're not going to make it. And if you don't make it, they're not going to fire me, because if they do, I'm going to go be the highest paid golfer on the amateur tour. It's going to be on you. That's what he said, because he's right. If they fired him at Kentucky, he's still getting his contract money. He's just going to go play golf for free.
Oh, does he play golf? Is he a golfer?
But my point is he's saying I can do
get his contract money and still go play golf.
Yes,
all right, I'm with
he's saying I can do my job for me.
Yeah. Anyway,
but I can't do your job for you. If you want to make this your career, you have to go out and do it. And that stuck with me because he wasn't being arrogant. He's saying I've done my part, and I'm providing you the knowledge that you've asked me to provide you when I recruited you here. Now, whether you choose to listen to it and habitualize it is up to you.
Well, and that was right around the same time. Habitualize. That's a good word. Listen, here's the thing about making up words. Make them up. Don't question yourself. Don't question yourself publicly. Go with it. Say it strongly. No one will ever question it.
You're right.
90% of the people will think that's a real word.
Habitualize. It might be. We'll check with Webster.
Was that also around the time when the Breakfast Club started happening?
Yeah,
because that was the one. That's the other greatest thing that Cal's done is that Breakfast Club, which may have been Kenny Payne or Coach O. I don't know who started that or who. It may have just been all of a sudden you got a group of guys who said, "No, this is what it takes," because that's something that I don't even think we had as a team. We didn't really understand even in '98, my senior year.
Yeah.
I got 2 guys I can tell you who did, and that's Jeff Shepard and Allen Edwards. They understood that. They lived in that gym the summer between junior and senior year. One of the biggest regrets of my career, and then I'll end with this. My biggest regrets of my career is that I did not live in that gym between my junior and my senior year. My junior year was my coming out party. Thank you. I went from riding the bench to being the second leading scorer on the team during the '97 tournament. And then I was so enthralled with who I had become, and that I was getting all this media attention, and that I was hitting all these threes, and I was shooting 65% of the 3-point line in the NCAA tournament. I was, as far as I was concerned, I'd arrived.
Yeah.
That summer, I just lived on my laurels. I mean, I'd become suddenly famous for not just being a UK player, but for being one that played. And I was loving it. And in the meantime, my 2 senior, who would turn out to be my 2 senior co-captains. Every night from 11:15 till 1 a.m., they were in Memorial Coliseum getting shots up together.
Jeff and who?
Jeff and Allen Edwards. And as a result, looking back on that, I had a worse year in '98 than I did in '97. End of the year, I wound up hitting a couple big shots, but I averaged far less my junior year or my senior year than my junior year, all because I spent that entire summer wasting time.
Yeah,
is one of my biggest regrets.
That's the only thing that scares me about the NIL, is you give these kids a bunch of money and they think, it's easy now.
True.
And it's not.
True. Well, but here's the
because
thing.
it can go like that.
But that's where your coach comes in and says, wait a minute, but
exactly.
what are you after here?
Yeah.
I mean, because they're not going to get a whole lot of money from NIL.
No, but I'm saying
there are millions on the other side of this wall if you want to do the work.
But I'm saying now you can take that same kid that's had that kind of performance for the end of this career. Maybe, at the end of this, I mean, it's not, let's use Oscar as an example, because this will not happen to Oscar. Right. Oscar's not this type of person. But you give Oscar, $250,000 after he has a, hell of a tournament, and he decides to return and just goes into coast mode.
Yeah.
That's not going to happen to him, but that's the issue that I think a lot of people will face.
You've got a good point, because you can be young enough to think that $250,000 is a lot of money, and for most of us, it is.
But it ain't going to last.
But that's not. No, it's not going to last. Yeah. And what's on the other side of this wall, Oscar, if you'll work your tail off your senior year and come back, hopefully, even if he doesn't, he's the kind of kid that's going to work his tail off no matter what. But on the other side of this wall is $250 million.
Exactly.
Yeah, that will last.
Especially with his marketability.
If you're careful.
Yeah.
If you're careful, that will last.
Yeah, especially with his marketability.
Right, my wife wants me home.
Thanks for joining us.
Love you, buddy.
I appreciate you. Love you
Absolutely.
too.
Jordan? Let's do it
again.
Nice to meet you, bud.
Jordan, thanks for the 11 words today, man. Appreciate you.